Hello, hello, my beloved waking gods and goddesses. Maria West here. Welcome to Love, Truth, and Beauty. This is episode 376 and an encore replay of Magi, Grail, Shaman, the Nectar of Immortality. I have received permission from Sethikus Boza, my cosmic brother of Black Earth Productions, to replay this broadcast. Really important, kids, as we are in the throes, as always, but more intensely these days, in terms of the malignant feminine and the war between the masculine and feminine within and without. So I am rebroadcasting this on my platform to once again really implore each and every one of you to undertake the initiation, the great work, doing the shadow work. I highly recommend Sethikus Boza's work. I have worked with him personally, and he is one of the very few people who fucking get the treachery that has mind controlled us since the old ones who started it, okay? And this is what this broadcast is all about. So please, 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 please listen up, kids. Okay, here we go.
And welcome back, everyone. Again, this is Boza, Black Earth Productions, new playing healing arts and cult science, and how I been able to continue with segments. Here, there's going to be some things that are addressed in context of transits. Again, the heavens above are within us, everybody. So recognizing that to, again, the three spirals of creation. This gets into the universal laws of metaphysics and the eternal axioms, and again, how things actually work in terms of reality. And it is to recognize this. And so to that, the Platonian energy of squared Eris conjunct Chiron and Aries, with Capricorn squared to Eris right now. This has also been hitting the conjunction to Chiron and Aries. It was during the age of Aries and the age of Taurus, taking things back on the procession, that all of the things that led up to the inversions we're all still dealing with in the reality field happened. And in terms of all of the reversals, here with what I just mentioned, is where both the wound and the gift reside in terms. But with energies being inverted to Eris in context, triangulation to opposition here on Earth, and these squares and conjunctions have been getting amplified against us and is in part responsible for things falling for aeons. See, there are ancient narratives, things to which the overlay reveals, and it's nothing to do with the reality of what is beyond these things, again, to what our focus should be. And what this is addressing in context is what must be extracted in order to evolve. Here, it's a simple observation, again, with what came up hard going back to 2020. And on another note, this hasn't been dealt with still. And so the solar spiral of creation being manipulated with the inverted Eris energies. This was the cause point and is the cause point for discord and chaos and divide and conquer strategies in terms of hyperdimensional warfare that have skewed the narratives on massive reversals and inversions, which has been square Pluto for a while now. That's what this is going to be addressing. And further, Eris in alignment is something completely different. I don't want anyone out there to get confused in context of what all of this is going to be addressing. I'm a warrior. I have respect for the warrioress, but the warrior and the warrioress must stand side by side and not be opposed. The square that started in late 2019 and started to bring up all of these very ancient things in terms of the procession, again, to be dealt with. No one has been quite immune to this, and it's what must continue to be transcended. Pluto is Scorpio, and it's the energy of transformation. Eris, in context, was thrown out on reversals in terms of what was mentioned at the start. A lot of people assume that astrology or astropsychology is just a bunch of fucking horseshit. Well, let me tell you what, the evidence is all across the board, and it is very clear. It does not matter whether or not it's advocated. It doesn't need anyone to believe in it for it to be true, let alone what is true beyond, how all of this has been manipulated against us. And things being inverted to the square to Eris, with Chiron and Aries conjunct Pluto and Capricorn. This is what has kept the floodgates of the Plutonian energy of Scorpio and the fire waters held up. I'll say it again, fire waters. Feel that. And knowing what is past all of this, dealing with delay, setbacks, misunderstanding, having to heal still through so many things that might not make sense, why it's still there. Here, even higher level occult knowledge and wisdom seems to have gone out the fucking window with a lot of you, yet it's still present. It's still clear to me. I don't know about you, but it's very clear to me. And all of the energies that are still buried to be unearthed in terms of the Plutonian transformation in Capricorn. And as to the collective energies here, what continues to be cultivated is a massive lack of compassion in terms of solipsism, reinforcing the pathetic, vampiric rule of spiritual wickedness in seemingly high places. And all of the neo-feminism agenda bullshit and inverted patriarch are directly tied to this. There is no bias here in context. And all of this is an agenda to play out these inverted cycles, which have done nothing more than reinforce the algorithm to programming with all that shit. And if anyone assumes that we have come into a new cycle in context to timeline trajectory, think again. See, that hasn't happened yet. And the reason why is because all of this still must be dealt with on the fucking level. We're not going to carry this into the future. We're not going to carry this into the new aeon. I, for one, refuse to be a partaker of any of it. To the dynamic, to the triggers, to the projections, any of it. I'm going to stand in a place of wisdom, being present, recognizing the difference and not bypassing my own, because this isn't my knowledge. This isn't, quote unquote, my truth. This isn't my opinion. This is what's been revealed, remembered, confirmed, and are things that I feel I need to share. And in other terms, when it comes to individuals, the virus bullshit was a perfect example of how easy it is for them, these fucking bastards, to basically lay down grid works out into the reality field in terms of overlay. This is another fucking overlay, which enslaved the minds of individuals on levels that are still working to invert certain energies in order to spin their bullshit narratives to keep these effects in place. With all of these other reversals and trans to the lockdown equation, like I've exposed for years, which is to further reinforce the inverted energies of Saturn, taking to manipulated moon energies when it comes to the radar of mind, onto the nervous system, with how our thought and emotion operate, which all goes back to why we react and respond the way that we do, on top of life in general. All right, pay attention to what I'm saying here in terms of navigation, because the vibratory swings with the ebb and flow and tides when it comes to cosmic law, specifically with the principle of rhythm. Again, it's all about our state of mind. All is mind. And the inverted energy of Eris, again being the energy of discord and chaos, cultivated within the mental and emotional bodies, to all of the ancient timeline bullshit going back on the procession. Again, it's not to bypass anything, because again, no actual timeline trajectory has been decided or can be decided for a bit now still, because all of these things need to be transitioned out of mind, because there's still so much that's happening on higher levels. Very, very real initiations in terms of the procession are happening. And as an overseer myself to these things, the evidence is undeniable. Another thing I want to address here is the fact that Eris in context also has much to do with the symbolism of the golden apple. See, what you want to ask yourself, what the fuck are we actually fighting for here in this reality? What is it really that we are reaching for past what is assumed? You realize this isn't it. See, if you really want to know the truth in terms of connection to the core, ignition, and all of these things I've mentioned, this all goes back to the nectar of immortality. And things in terms of the mythos, to the war between the Aesir and the Vanir being over the nectar of immortality. This is what the first war was over, let alone any other on all of its terms. And the reason this took place all goes back to the resurgence of the old ones. Again, pay attention. I've addressed this already with certain segments. And here it is to note that Gullveig and Freyja are not the same with what I am about to state, as is assumed with many that have observed the mythos, because I'm not observing what I'm about to share from a monotheistic point of view. I'm going to take this segment and go pretty deep into all of this. And again, it is to address the thirst and all of the abnormally formed unnatural conditions that are here within the cosmos. But in context to Gullveig, Loki has to be considered as well. Both are shapeshifters. Again, Loki being the shadow, blood brother of Odin. Gullveig, in short, is the shadow of the feminine force. And all you women out there need to hear this. Gullveig, in context to the old ones, was the originator of dark sorcery. And so to assume the form of a giantess, this is basically how she was able to dwell among the Vanir without being detected as an intruder. She appeared to the Vanir as a goddess in form, but through Gullveig's true essence, it was made purely from the poisonous black ice of Niflheim. The purpose here was to lead all of the Thursian races and bring in anti-cosmic existence in order for the downfall to take place, and to infect the soul of the universe with the poison of chaos and let it burn from within. And not in terms of transformation. I'm talking about entropy and rot. Gullveig was from the beginning known to be very huge and terrible. As Angraboda, she is known as the dark, formidable mother and crone, dwelling as the sole ruler of the atrocious dark woods that are there within the underworld of Jotunheim, mothering and spawning legions, deformed. Are you hearing me? As Haida, she is known as the dark, underworldly crone, which reveal the Merkstave in terms of the rooms. She has also been called the Old One, in context to the Old Ones. So in terms of the mythos and what it explains to the creation of the cosmos, and how chaos starts to procreate and is slaughtered in order for the Celestials to build the cosmos into the three here, Gullveig, Haida, and Angraboda, foretelling of the thrice born and the thrice born. Gullveig, in the own mythology and sagas, states that at the very beginning she planted the seed of destruction into this world. Her heart was basically created from the primordial black ice spewed out of chaos itself, the feminine representation of anti-cosmic chaos, the wrath beyond wraths, the all-devourer beyond all devourers. She is the anti-cosmic inverted womb, an abyss, and the cosmic tomb. She's been called by many different names throughout the aeons, known again for the names via Gullveig, Haida, Arbadoa, Angrabota, and Hyreken. And as Angraboda, she took the eastern parts of Jotunheim in terms of the ironwood, and as the sagas depict, and as the mythos states, the very dark and atrocious forest is where she spawned all of the monsters and the demons and the hordes. I have the wolf shield up, but that wolf is not Vandergander. And if anybody wants to go deeper, do Ulfadar training with me and I will break it down in context. Gullveig should be seen. Jormungandr procreated most of the hordes of the children that she spawned. And under the name Haida, which means the shining one, this is the ruse, this is the sheen. Fact is that she is a dark witch giantess, wielder of the darkest seeds. Yet she was the brightest, crawling out from the abyss, taking form up through all of the endless darkness and slithering through the crusty bounds of Midgard. Bright as a shadowless light, she came. Like a burning spine of wand she stood and started a journey into the yards of unforgivable and receptive folk to teach them all about the dark arts to the underworld. And she is known as the Wicked Crone, giantess of the Merkstave rooms, and the one who comes at night from up under the earth, walks in between houses to visit women, to target Freyja, the craft and cunning, which strikes as a weapon with confusion, with disease, with sickness, with ailments, and all this other fucking bullshit, and pulls the mind into all of this anti-cosmic Merkstave bullshit, working to turn the soul dark, working to eclipse that soul spark, and turn it into the anti-cosmic light, which is that false cold light. Everybody out there needs to hear what I'm saying, okay? Because we're not actually dealing with a woman. This is the form that she comes in, but is hosted by the old ones themselves. There's a major difference here. So I don't want any woman out there that's hearing this to come at me in comments. You need to understand what has come at you. And as a man that knows the difference, prompted to address this. This is how real it's fucking got. And what I've experienced and what I have witnessed, I'm really holding back a lot over here, but I gotta be real. The destructive seeds which Gullveig sowed in the minds of humanity, granting harvests throughout centuries, and with each century henceforth richer. Granting harvest. Do you understand what that means? Do you get what that is saying? Because check it out. Gullveig is as intelligent, cunning, and quick-witted in foreseeing spiteful moves and sinister way of thinking. This way is heavy for me, as I think Gullveig is thought of to be a seeress who foretells. In truth, though, she made sly plans from the beginning of the creation of the cosmos, and is working to follow them to the end and to pull womankind, the essence of the divine feminine force, the Vanir themselves, to not only hold this in place, but she has brought darkness from the very depths of the dungeons of Niflheim to the brightest gardens. And see, this skilled cunning is only wielded by her, opposing all of the powers in existence that are in alignment. Do you understand what I'm saying here? This is not an accident. This is not just some arbitrary thing to see all of this for what it is. We need to be aware of her fear, her in context to this shell, and all of the destructive intentions. And as it is stated in the mythos, they were able to uncover her intentions, but by then it was almost too late. It states that she spawned legions of horrible monsters, strengthened her powers in the dark anti-cosmic Seder, directed to kill many gods and men, and evoked all of this relentless darkness and abysmal essence. Inhale the current of chaos. It's understood that Gullveig had worked as Frigg's maidservant and got Freyja's confidence, and with malicious craftiness got Freyja to fall into that dark shit, to fall into the dark woodworks, to fall into the idea. And furthermore, since Freyja is the goddess of fertility and nature and vision, one can easily understand the devastating consequences Gullveig had in mind for her and why she was targeted. This is why, because of how powerful Freyja actually is, and the healing ability to overcome all of this is there in terms of the true Alfarian magic of the Alfarian Codex. This is what women are facing on a deeper level than I can even say. Gullveig, she is your true enemy here in context, and not just. And as the Aesir understood the terrible outcome, like I have stated, that comes from all of this dark witchcraft. See, this is why they had to seize her. And again, we're not dealing with an actual woman here. This is a husk, okay? And by thrusting their spears into the body, like it states, it happened instantaneously without trial. And this is how we have to deal with the dark ones. This is how we have to deal with any sort of state of mind that works to come in and hook and invert and poison. That's the attitude you have to take towards that, with the energy of Eris. But with Eris being inverted according to their plans, this is what pulls everything in terms of soul into a grim, laid, and hidden wasteland. Gullveig's heart is as cold as the primordial ice of Niflheim, that poison ether, and therefore the heart of primeval cold. And this is what leads to the ultimate manifestation of what I'm getting at here, the flame-smoked hurricane, meaning that all that is divine in terms of the flame became impure by the smoke of illusion. The smoke here has been compared with fog, and thereby links Gullveig with this myth to her place of birth in Niflheim. And after Gullveig, the origin of what took the rune's Merkstave got executed by the Aesir. Now, to touch a little bit more on this whole misconception, or Gullveig's misrepresentation as Freyja. The misrepresentation of Gullveig as Freyja is just as false and just as fucking irritating and disgraceful. Whatever practice you're into, you have to understand the nature of Gullveig, and that has nothing to do with Freyja. Freyja, in terms of the divine feminine force, is at war with Gullveig. That's the real battle. That's the fucking shit that's going down. In terms of my research and study, getting into the real occult knowledge, I've been able to verify this. And see, the true thrice-born vulva, Cirrus, is Freyja. And it is through this that she came side by side with Odin and showed him the ways of Seth, as he showed her the runes, their divine counterparts. And then what comes into the fucking situation, you see how it all works here, taking it a little bit deeper in terms of the reality and what's really going on. And see, why the fuck would the Aesir want to kill Freyja or take her out? She's one of their own in terms of the Vanir. And secondly, if Gullveig became Freyja, how the fuck is that going to happen? That could never happen. But Freyja is up against Gullveig, and Freyja already existed before the emergence. And so it's that which goes to oppress and invert and to trick the minds of women. And see, the whole misunderstanding and misrepresentation of Gullveig being Freyja derives from Loki's spiteful attack on Freyja herself. And see, Freyja, the true essence of the golden apple, here it goes back to this. The goddess that's in alignment. Because here with Gullveig, she is known throughout the mythology to again have been the mother of Fenrir, Vandagunda. And just like Lilith, Gullveig has served the role of the demon mother that eternally begets the dark mother aspect. And basically understand the function and position by comparing Gullveig to other dark mother goddesses. It's all the same shit. Listen to this fucking bullshit, okay? Now, look, when I say this, you got to understand the whole concept of the oppression of women comes from the old ones. It came from the old ones first. So you as women out there need to face this and stop projecting all of your shit onto men, especially men that know the difference, and stand side by side. Like I said in the beginning, the warrior and the warrioress, side by side, and transcend this shit. Listen to what the fuck this manuscript says. And see, before I say this in terms of observation, throw up your shields. Do not allow the idea to hone in and extract it and rout it out by making the darkness conscious. O great Lilith, grant me entrance to your kingdom of unlawful dreams, mother of all demons, O evil goddess, open the gates and let the dark flame of the demonic self flourish in the darkness. Are you fucking kidding me? No. We bind and banish all of this. We cancel and reject all of this. Come into the core, focus, and recognize the power that is there in your connection to the higher force. None of this has any power. Anything mentioned to that manuscript no longer has any relevance. Assume this attitude, assume this state of mind. Taking back your vessel, taking back your essence. Remember who you are. It's all there, waiting for you. And that is the gift. That is the gift to the procession. Who you truly are has always belonged to you. And it's to see that, saying, this does belong to me. Saying unto yourself, I am whole. I am healed. I am in alignment. I am. One of the most powerful things that people can say in context to evocations is the I am. And when you declare, I am powerful. I am focused. I am levity. I am authentic love. I am the one that overcomes. I am the one who sees. I am the one that knows. I am the one that is in a position of co-creation. I am the one that is not going to quit. I am the one that will not relent. I am the one who will not allow my circumstances to define me. I am the one who will not bow to the darkness and fear and ignorance. I am. and then you own it, holding yourself accountable to that. So whenever any of this other bullshit comes in, this is how you bind and banish. This is how you cancel and reject, by evoking otherwise. Get out of your head and into your heart. Crack open the gates of true intelligence and speak forth from that place. Change the narrative. Stop going over and over and over the stories. All of this is so old, everybody. What about the present? What about the new? I am the one who has come to remind myself and others, as I have been reminded. Remember what has been reminded. That is where the power is. That is where the solidification is. That's the rock on which things should be built upon, and not all of the sifting sand falling through into the underworld. And as you're reaching up and out in terms of the quickening, it's not to struggle against the darkness. It's not to struggle against evil. It's not to struggle with any of that shit. You see it for what it is, the fact that it has no power, and decide and see yourself as you truly are through the eyes of a higher force. See yourself. Both men and women need to hear me here, especially the template holders of divine masculine and divine feminine energy. Recognize the psyop, recognize the mind control, recognize everything that is worked to avert and then be amplified like it is at every single fucking goddamn procession. I am the divine masculine force here in Midgard. I am the one that has gone through trials, gone through initiations. I am the one, just like many of you out there listening, that has maybe reached a point of second guessing everything. But it's in these times, it's in these moments when you surrender, not having all the answers, not having everything in front of you, but allowing the revealing unto the remembering to show you, and it will strip down, and that power will completely annihilate everything that you are not. I know what the process is like. It's very painful. But what's on the other side of this transformation is far more than what I can put into words. You can't put it into words. And it must be experienced. So to all of the academics out there that don't understand the dynamic of what I'm addressing, this is where it becomes real. Real recognizes real. We all fuck up. We all make mistakes. But again, this is why accountability is so important. And there's nobody out there that is not being held accountable with all of your entitlement and bullshit. There is far more in terms of the treasure that is there deep within the ore, deep within the precious heart that beats in your chest right now. There's so much more. And see, another interesting fact in terms of the dark goddess is that, to the analogy of Gullveig, the symbolism of the chthonic threefold ruler of the underworld, hound, Cerberus, the three-headed dog, is a symbol to Gullveig. It has everything to do with connection to the underworld, connected to the crone. And see, the crone, that energy, it siphons the essence of womankind, takes away your life force energy, takes away your magic, takes away your position. Again, there is no correspondence with Freyja and Gullveig. And it's time for the divine feminine force to wake up. Because as a man that knows the difference, most men out there, they don't know this shit. Caught up in the dynamic and pointing their finger at women. I'm not pointing my finger at women. I'm pointing my finger at what is targeting you. They went right for the fucking heart. And we can't allow it. Because there, in gloss, is where the portal exists. It's where connection exists. It's where that flow resides. And this is where we bind and banish and cancel and reject all of that inverted bullshit and seal off the rift in terms of wholeness and what it means to be healed. Seeing yourself as whole, seeing yourself as healed, making that your focus and not staring headlong into the abyss to keep everything festering. It's not who you are. Who we are is who we incarnated to be. Never assume identity to the overlay, to the distortions, to the sickness, to the disease, to the ailments, whatever diminishes the true essence of who you are. And never allow anything to undermine that with you, let alone anyone else. Let's stand side by side and kill this fucking shit. instead of fucking turning on one another and ripping one another to fucking pieces. In terms of the transits mentioned, and all of this shit to the procession, this was the trick that has not been caught since what happened did. I'm not making this up. I was in the middle of research and study going over this, and it shot me out of my chair. I was like, holy shit. I'm not down with oppression. I'm not down with abuse. I'm not down with belt lining and ripping people apart and tearing them to fucking shreds. None of that shit. I'm about working to be in alignment and working to be in right relationship and connection with myself, especially those that are closest to me. But I know that there are forces that have come against my life, and I know that there are forces that have come against the lives of those that are hearing this right. For some of you, it's hitting a little bit closer to home. Again, all of this is evident. You pull everything into a break. This is Sethikus Boza, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts, and Cult Science. And again, we'll be right back. Welcome back. Second, everyone, this is Sethikus Boza, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts, and Cult Science. And things being touched upon in terms of this specific segment. As far as I'm concerned, and you can take it or leave it, but all of this is very, very important in terms of the procession where things are at the present moment, in terms of what must be caught, seen for what it is, transcended, in terms of integration, coming on to the higher timeline trajectory. So to continue, with all of the magical praxis, traces of the belief in a spiritual metamorphosis can be found in the tales of the orphan warriors who mentally and spiritually evoked the wisdom and the power of the wolf. It all goes back to Tyr. And in our case, by encouraging and empowering alignment, this is where we face this in terms of the procession, so that the new mythos can be created. We're not going to carry this into the new aeon. The Alfarian magic with what is there with the Vanir is and was intact and was in alignment within the scale of the 9 worlds and the true universal tree of life. That again, it was through the resurgence of the old ones into the 9 worlds that was the cause point that brought corruption here on earth in terms of Midgard and our physical universe. So to the old ones, you could akin them to all of the AI shit and basically what H.P. Lovecraft's mythos reveals to what he witnessed. It's not to be afraid of it. It's not to look at it and go, oh my God, these things are microscopic as fuck, by the way, and had infected both the minds of gods and goddesses in mankind. And has always been the cause point for the war over the Nectar of Immortality. So the fear of non-existence and what all of that would entail, pulling things into nihilism and the idea that nothing has any fucking purpose anymore. Are you kidding me? We didn't just come here for lessons. We didn't just arrive to allow all of the bullshit that we knew we were going to be taking on to have its victory over us. We would have not incarnated unless we knew that we were going to be victorious. See, the wars need to end. And the way it ends is by you taking back your true essence, extracting your true essence, the grid works of consciousness that no human or being for that matter should attempt to access or have anything to do with. And it's to say that a lot of the crap that I see people into, what they're working with still, are keyed into all of this. The rift to the abyss must be sealed off in terms of step-down consciousness. This was the opening of what Gullveig's intention was in context to Hierokin, among the 3 other archetypes that go to invert the essence of the norms, the weavers of the fates. Yes, you could say that there is no fate but what you make. At the same time, we live in a world of multiplicity. There's so many things within myself that I know are meant to still manifest. There's so many things within my heart that I know are meant. And all of this in terms of the inverted womb to take life force energy from all life, hosted by the old ones themselves. Gullveig appears in Vanaheim as one of their own. And by targeting Freyja, she worked to take her over, slowly poisoning the mind, along with the Vanir, which is everything in context to what the true divine feminine force actually is in context. See, this is another way of explaining the dynamic. And as the Aesir saw this for what it was, to what the Vanir had been infected by in defense to Gullveig, this was the cause point again to the first war. as was the procession of aeons unto the nectar of immortality. And all of the 9 worlds and the true universal tree of life are eternal birthright, along with any other real occult history that has been mentioned by others out there, and also what I've been able to mention public on the platform, let alone in private with anyone. And things must still come into alignment in order for the new mythos to be created. Who is it going to be created by? We are the ones. We crack open the books. We take the feather to ink and rewrite the script, to spell words, to declare, to evoke, to speak forth the Galder, sound, song, frequency, primal sound fields. Does your voice and what you utter and what you speak forth pull from those grid works of consciousness? See the mystery of the Grail of consciousness with what is worked to integrate back into the reality field with those that can hold the template for the Grail. Also have the blood codes and soul codes to do this. It doesn't matter what your physical condition is. It doesn't matter what your mental condition is. It doesn't matter what your spiritual condition is. And it sure as hell does not matter what your temporal condition is. None of those things are truly anything holding this back. To the physical vessel here, it must surrender. It has to surrender in terms of integration. And the mythos also in regard denotes how certain things to fear has its roots spun into the scenario with things dealing with the outright rejection of the divine masculine force, with how things have been manipulated by the inverted energies directing everything into the goddamn fucking abyss. Magic mirror, mirror gate on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? Right? This is still working to be corrected, and is going to be. This is the wisdom revealed to me here. So hear me. All of this inverted energy of Aries, in Aries squared, the Plutonian frequencies of Scorpio in Capricorn. Again, pay attention to what stands after the gate of Libra in context to wisdom. It is the floodgates of firewater to Scorpio, the magic of firewater. You see, if this remains closed due to the resistance of transmutation with the Capricorn energies, there is going to be a higher order decision made in order to flip the reversals to the inverted energies of Saturn and dismantle these things to the process of the alchemical rites within the mental and emotional blueprint directed by the higher force itself. There's your individual template, and then there's the template of Earth itself. Everything has a template. So individuals viewing this segment questioning, what is this schematic diagram that I pulled up here? This diagram shows the 23.5 degree axis of the Earth that was offset in terms of the most recent cataclysms that again happened about 26,000 to 50,000 years. If you look at where the solar north axis point is, this is what has been offset in terms of our connection to the core essence and the star core of the central sun itself. And so by taking this diagram off the screen, flipping it around, and then putting it on your chest, it's all about turning the energies counterclockwise. And by doing so, this is what I noticed with my own energy, that when things are going clockwise, there's a strong temptation to go into loops in terms of how I'm processing things, in terms of what I'm picking up on. You could have abilities, you could have skills, but if the processor is not in alignment, then what's being picked up on is not being directed by the gate of the solar north, which is the central sun within yourself. Take it to the runes, take it to cosmic law. This is Ingloss. So looking at the diagram, looking at the schematic, if you turn your head right, it states that this is the false geographical North Pole. And this is what seals off the processor from being ignited by, again, taking the diagram, flipping it around, putting it on you, and then turning things in terms of how you're processing counterclockwise. I just experimented with this and I felt the difference, and I could feel higher consciousness coming in, clarity, focus. All of the chatter started to dissipate, all of that static. And so the frequency fences in terms of the manipulation of our energy bodies and a lot of different things. Again, Earth has its template, and so does every single thing that is living here on Earth. So to pull things back into alignment, you can see the two triangles that I speak about coming in at the point at the very center. You have the upper template and the lower template. At that 23.5-degree axis is where things are being triangulated. But when you turn it, again, the diagram on you counterclockwise, that is when the portal opens. That is when the inverted black sun Q construct starts to be pulled apart, bringing it out of the triangulation. And once the two tips of the triangles meet, that is when the access point opens. That is when all of this distortion, all of this overlay, all of these programs, and all the fucking dark bullshit dissipates. In fact, you come up on a completely different frequency and it no longer has any effect. It's the resistance, though. It's the pressure that you feel in terms of constriction when you are working to turn things counterclockwise in context. But everything I revealed in the Dismantling the Dark Gridwork segment goes back to this in context. And this is where the gates of true intelligence, again, are cracked open. That's where you're able to cross the threshold from within yourself, and then you see everything clearly for what it is. And right there is where I'm going to be standing from within myself. All of this, again, is very real in terms of metaphysics and occult science. And again, is to experiment and see what happens with it within the fulcrum of the circle of the magician, like I explained, for those that have been initiated and those that know the difference in terms of whatever your practice is. Again, this is about developing your own practice, but it has to come into alignment with the universal laws of metaphysics and the eternal axioms, again, how things actually work for anything to be truly effective, to get real results in terms of what I'm getting at here specifically. Mark my words. It has been foreseen in the records in context to the ancient future. The Plutonian energy of Scorpio in Capricorn, in terms of this transit energy, is and has been working to tear down every wall and every structure, consciousness and programming in the reflection to the scribe with the fire waters of creation. This is what will rebuild things again. Proper knowledge and wisdom in context to the gates of Libra. And see, all of this inverted Eris energy opposes this. Again, I'm not talking about Eris in alignment. I'm not down with any sort of masculine oppression or abuse or fucking any of that kind of fucking shit. Yes, I can get triggered out. Yes, I can get angry. It's the blue flame. This is what it means to be held accountable. I understand that womankind and mankind, all of us, have been oppressed. So again, the warrior and the warrioress must stand side by side, because the inverted Eris energy is opposing all of this, going back to Gullveig, wants nothing to do with healing, wants nothing to do with wholeness, and wants nothing to do with expansion of awareness or consciousness or any of it. And it fears and hates both the divine feminine and divine masculine dispositions in terms of templating and alignment, which what goes back to the fucking old ones, and Hyrcan and mythos and all the different ways that you can explain this. And this way remains to that the divine feminine and divine masculine are meant to hold connection cultivated by the higher force itself in terms of transformation, to allow that authentic love and passion with that connection in terms of potential with everything I'm mentioning here to flow again. That is where the protection resides. That is where the true power ignites. Not when one or the other want to try and control the fire waters. See, there's nothing more powerful in terms of co-creation. And there's nothing that can ultimately prevent this in terms. So what everyone needs to fucking do is stop tearing each other apart for whatever triggers or projections or shortcomings or distractions or distortions or whatever are being dealt with here. The antagonistic core must dissolve. The antagonistic core must be transcended, and transmutation with amplifications to any fucking signals inducting fear within ourselves must be silenced. So to not keep things from being blocked, we must keep letting all of that shit go and allow the wellspring to erode the cold, dark mountain from within, to make its path through the inversion, to dissolve these energies in the ethers, and to cancel these signals and all this algorithm bullshit that has to be shut down. Eris is ran on a 550-year cycle, and its orbit on the ecliptic is much longer and drawn out than that of Pluto. So again, in context to the Plutonian energy, victory is at our grasp here. And if this is caught within what's coming up in terms, It will bring access to the gates of Libra in terms of Venus, in order to tap the wellspring to wisdom and manifest transformational wholeness and healing with Scorpio, with the magic of firewaters. This will wash away the debris and pollution in context of disillusion with what's been burning out to the inverted energies of Eris. And from here, within the Aries energy, especially in Chiron, it is being encouraged to hear the wisdom of fire magic to the waters of Scorpio. Everything in creation that is ever solidified first comes from water, including fire, into the mysteries of Scorpio. They are revealed in order to fully heal the core in terms of ignition to the procession of the grand cycle with Chiron and Aries, in order to break all of the inverted Saturnian cycle bullshit. Dates and times are irrelevant as to when, because when has already been decided. It's just a matter of owning the eternal birthright and owning who we truly are and owning what all of this is and owning what all of this leads to. Again, if anyone just got a taste of what is beyond, they would come running, they would come lined up. So many people will be lined up for initiation. And this is what I hope people can experience, the connection to your true core essence and the higher force, because that is what brings us together. That is what has to be addressed so that you can see clearly, so you can see everything that anybody else is talking about out there clearly for what the fuck it is. I don't know how else to address this. All of this ignited within me years ago. All the remembering, confirmations, and things in terms of codes activating, and all of the passion and the fire that was there, driving it forward. I will not relent. I will not quit. I will hold true in terms of my conviction, holding space, making room as I focus and continue. So in terms of transitions and where things are at the moment, hopefully some of this resonates, because what I see with a lot of narratives going on out there, the things that both men and women are talking about, it's getting really fucking interesting here. And this is where we catch it. This is where we decide. We say, oh, we know what the fuck this is. We're not going to allow it. We can't allow it, everyone. So see yourself, see the difference. If anybody out there is interested in initiations, the mystery school, send me an email at blackearthproductions with an S at hotmail.com. Again, check out the website at blackearthproductions with a Z.com. Everything is there on the services page. I really wish the website was the way it was before. It's things in context to the new mythos and everything that was working to unfold. It's still there. It's still there on the timeline. It can't be averted because we got our timeline back in 2017. That much I do know. It's just a matter of making the choice to continue after certain things unfold. And those that I've spoken with, they have given me testimony in terms of their own pathwork when it comes to the mystery school, when it comes to so many things that have happened. It's undeniable. I can't say exactly, but hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of people that I've spoken with directly that have been initiated. The results are undeniable. So anybody out there that wants to take it deeper, again, send me an email at blackearthproductions with an S at hotmail.com. I will get back to you accordingly. Hopefully some of this resonated. If it didn't, if it triggered you, don't worry about it, because all of this in turn is going to reveal itself in context to what was remembered. This is Sethikus Boza, Black Earth Productions. Be empowered, be encouraged.
Thank you for joining us, kids. That is it for today. Sethikus and I both appreciate your willingness to burn in the fires. And until next time, here is to love, truth, and beauty, my beautiful waking gods and goddesses. Mwah!